Assalamu alaikum everyone and welcome to day 19 of the 20 by 20 Wellbeing Challenge Season 2. As always, your host here, Shamil Fazaldeen, with my co-host.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. Once again, thank you for joining us today for day 19 of the Wellbeing Challenge Season 2. This is your host Shazia, and as always, our theme for this year's challenge is a beautiful quote by Imam Ali alayhi salam, which is, "You presume you are a small entity, but within you is enfolded the entire universe." And as always, the topics so far for the past 18 days have epitomized this very beautiful quote, right? And we have gotten so much knowledge, so much of information on what we can do to make our lives much better than they already are, right?
100%, I totally agree with you. And this quote has become so profound in every single word, the way it's placed, the way it's stated. I mean, we often, very often, do we think very small and little of ourselves, in every aspect. But within us is enfolded, mashallah, an entire universe
Yes.
which we are yet to even uncover, and understand more in detail of what we have within us.
Absolutely. And I think Sister Fahima very well said it yesterday, that it's not just about the words. You have to actually feel it. So it's not just a quote. You actually have to look within, because there's so much more that we can find within us. And it all lies within us instead of looking for it externally.
And with this quote and with the program we've had this year, the 20 by 20 Wellbeing Challenge, I know we've all taken away so much out of it. But just like we posted in the group today, that leaves will fall. Don't be afraid, because the new season is there to take the best out of you. It's going to be your best season yet.
Yeah.
So yes, we'll all change after this. Change for the better. We'll all take and apply what we've learned, and inshallah we can see a big difference in our lives. Yeah. As always, should you wish to reach out, I mean, we're reaching the end of the challenge, but please, those who want to reach out for anything you've faced, anything you have in your mind, please do reach out at bewell@ksimc.com. And we have a WhatsApp number as well, 043982121. It's 100% confidential, but feel free to reach out.
Yeah, and just another reminder that we have 21 days of the Wellbeing Challenge. So tomorrow is not the last day. Day after is going to be the last day, which is a Tuesday. So inshallah, please do look forward to one more added day of the Wellbeing Challenge.
That was, I think, the bonus that we got.
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
all right, and today's session, I'm really looking forward to this, because our speaker for today, a dear friend who was there from season 1,
Yeah.
and amazing content last year and this year also. I'm really looking forward to this, and I was waiting for this session.
Very beautiful. Last year, I do remember he spoke about Surah Fatiha and went into the details of each ayah and how important and impactful it is. And I think we are completely ready and excited for yet another session that's going to be riveting, and it's going to be very interactive with the speaker and the audience today.
Yeah. So we've got a special program. It's the usual that we follow, where the speaker speaks for about 20-25 minutes and we go into a Kahoot. Today will be slightly different, because we've got a bit of a surprise for you from the speaker. Only request is participate 100%, because it's for your benefit, for our benefit. Be a part of it. But same, once our speaker completes everything, then we'll go into Kahoot, and inshallah, if there's time, we'll get into the Q&A.
Yeah, definitely. So, without further ado, can we introduce our speaker for today? Yes, today we have Shaykh Gulamabbas Lakha. Shaykh Gulamabbas Lakha takes a multidisciplinary approach to research and teaching at Oxford University. His doctorate to psychiatry investigates mental health applications of key Islamic concepts and practices. including empirical work on depression in the UK Muslim population. He is a tutor in psychology of religion and also leads seminars on neuroscience of religious experience, including supervising medical studies with special interests in this field. In addition, he lectures on Christian Muslim relations and co founded the Oxford Interfaith Forum, bringing together over 1,500 scholars, policymakers, and faith community leaders globally. His original training was in financial economics, wherein he founded an investment firm in 2004. He subsequently completed 4 master's degrees spanning psychology and neuroscience, theology, Islamic studies, history, and Arabic. Following training over a number of years, he was accredited as a Shaykh, lecturing on contemporary Islam in the UK and on Muslim TV channels. Today's topic is empowering and enabling problem-solving techniques from Islam and psychology. Can we please welcome Shaykh Gulamabbas Lakha?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I am
Alaikum
so
salam.
Ya
grateful
Shaykh.
for the opportunity to join you today and to participate on this amazing program that you've got. I would like to begin with a request from all our participants to please join me in a special prayer for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless our organizers today and all the people who have helped put this series together to enable us to achieve qurbat in Allah, to achieve proximity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through manifesting His hamd, through His praise, because this important teaching from Imam Ali alayhi salam that is guiding this series is really about us manifesting the hamd that is within us, the glorification of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that is integral to every human being in every moment, no matter how weak we may feel. So I pray that in His glory and His generosity that He rewards our organizers and keeps them fervent in their desire to continue serving us so that we may keep benefiting from them, inshallah.
No, thank you
This
so
topic
much.
that we have of empowering and enabling comes about because when we look at the world today, both within ourselves and across our community, we see a range of problems. And if we just look around the world, that is amplified. So the question arises, what practical techniques do we have from Islam that are reflected in modern psychology and psychotherapy that we can apply today to make a practical difference now? And inshallah, we'll look at a few such teachings. And before I go into those techniques, I'd like to ask a second favor, if I may. Having prayed for our organizers, let us make that prayer practical so that we actually use the opportunities they are providing for us. And in that regard, let us think about a particular challenge we're facing now, a problem that if we were to address it, would make a meaningful impact on our well-being. It could be a social problem, a financial problem, a health problem, a spiritual problem. Whatever matters, whatever is important to you right now. Think about that problem as we go into some of the background context, because we will come back to that in 3 practical exercises, inshallah. The question arises that in Islam, what is our expected approach to problems that we have? Well, of course, we know that we're supposed to draw upon our faith. But I'd like to give an example of a superlative application of faith in a historically huge problem. We remember Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he was in the fire of Namrud, he was catapulted into this huge fire. And of course, that's a massive problem. When we look around us in our lives, we see lots of fires burning. The fire of Namrud was unparalleled. And what does the Quran teach about that? Surah Al-Anbiya, Surah 21, verse 69 is very clear. It says, Bismillahir Rahim, Qulna, we said, Ya naru, O fire, kuni bardan wa salaman ala Ibrahim. Be a place of peace and tranquility for Ibrahim. Now, did the fire suddenly become extinguished? No. Did the fire continue to burn and rage? Yes. But did Ibrahim alayhi salam get burnt by it? No. And this is the lesson for us, that regardless of how all encompassing, how deep and penetrating the problems around us may seem, if we hold steadfast to our faith, we can come through it. We have the potential for it. And the key aspect of that is that when we are holding firm to our Iman, to have hope. We remember the master of psychology, Hazrat Amir alayhi salam, teaches us in the dua that he taught to his beloved companion Kumail, narrated from Khidr alayhi salam, where towards the end this dua Kumail says, Irham man ra'su malihi raja. Have mercy upon the one whose greatest asset is hope, raja. And we see in the scientific data that those people who have optimism around their ability to cope with a problem are far more likely to be able to do so. Even when it comes to people who are already suffering from mental health challenges, if they are optimistic about their therapeutic journey bearing fruit, it will. And we've got study after study reiterating the power of optimism. And our salah, which we are obligated to perform, we've got 17 rakats a day. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't need us to bow down to Him. We need to do this salah because it's for our benefit. And when we look at this practice of addressing problems, it's almost like in our salah when we're on the ground, how do we get back up on our feet? We say, Bihawlillah, through the strength of Allah, wa quwwatihi, through His power, aqumu, I stand, wa aqud, and I sit. But this process of standing up, which we model a dozen times a day, is a reflection of our lives. When we find ourselves on the ground with a problem, whether it's caused by us because we slipped and fell into the mud through our own foolishness, or whether it was through the injustices of this world and we were shoved into the ground, ultimately it doesn't matter. What matters is that we can get back up on our feet through His quwwah, through His howl, through His faculty and through His power. We can stand even if we feel weak. And in tribute to our organizers, I wanted to spend a few minutes as you are reflecting upon the particular problem that you want to get back on your feet about. I want to spend a few minutes thinking about this poem, this profound couplet from Hazrat Amir alayhi salam that our organizers have made as the key theme of this series. He says, "Dawauka fika wama tash'uru," that your remedy, your dawa, is from within you, but you don't perceive it. "Wadauka minka wama tanzuru," and your sickness is from you, but you do not sense it. Notice the balagha, the beautiful rhetoric, switching from dawauka and dauka, the remedy and the problem, coming from the same source, from us. And then, of course, the title of the series, وَتَحْسَبُوا أَنَّكَ جِرْمٌ صَغِيرٌ. Somehow you presume that you're a small entity. وَفِيكَ أَنْتَوَى الْعَالَمُ الْأَكْبَرُ. However, within you is unfolded the entire universe. Indeed, when we look into it, it's about the entirety of the universe. So the essence of it. And Hazrat Amir continues, وَأَنْتَ الْكِتَابُ الْمُبِينُ. You are the evident book. الَّذِي بِأَحْرُفِهِ يَظْهَرُ الْمُضْمَرُ. That you are this evident book, the letters of which make the hidden manifest. That's the wider context that Imam Ali alayhi salam provides to this important teaching, that we are not insignificant, though we may perceive ourselves to be. So with that optimism that we have the strength and the ability to cope, let us go into the particular problem we're thinking about. I'd like to introduce a concept from cognitive therapy called automatic negative thoughts. This is a form of rumination, a form of negative thinking that arises based upon our memories of something that's gone wrong in the past. And when something in our current life happens that's related to it, it triggers all of those automatic negative thoughts. So, for instance, if I'm really bad at parking my car, let's say I had an accident in the past and I hit something as I was parking. Next time I come to park my car, I might have a flood of those automatic negative thoughts. Oh my goodness, I have to park. I might hit the car behind me. I might do this. I might do that. I might also park the car beautifully. But that doesn't come into my mind. Only the negative thoughts come into my mind. And this is the automatic nature of negative thoughts that we need to be wary of. And often they're based on our memories. But when we look at the neuroscience, we see that actually our memories are encoded in various places, particularly the hippocampus. And in the frontal cortex, when our memories are brought in for us to think about them again, we can change those memories. And when the memories go back into the hippocampus, they get re-encoded. The next time we recall them, they're slightly changed. So we have the power to make our memories worse or to make them better. Now, the automatic negative thoughts, if we manage them, we can take the sting out of them so that when we file them again, the next time they're reloaded without all that emotional sting. And that is what we're going to try and do today, inshallah. And we ask ourselves, so what is this related to Islam about? Well, we forget sometimes that we teach our youngest children, our small children, Surah An-Nas. We start at the end of the Quran and at the beginning of the Quran, the two bookends with Surah Al-Fatiha, our theological foundation, and Surah An-Nas that warns us about the difficulties we will face in getting there. We are taught about the waswasa, alladhi yuwaswisu fi sudurin nas, that the khannas, the evil one, whispers these doubts, these waswasa, these ruminations, these negative thoughts into our hearts. Sudur, of course, having a much broader translation, relating to mind more broadly as well as heart. Therefore, when these negative thoughts arise, we should recognize them for the waswasa that they are, because they can serve to paralyze our action in the here and now, even though they may emanate from the past, and indeed they may not even be true, because over the years that we've been recounting them, we may have been slightly amending them each time we remember. So let's amend them for the positive. Let's amend them such that they do not have that negative sting anymore. So here's the first exercise in relation to this particular problem that I requested you to think about. Ask yourself, do you get any automatic negative thoughts that arise about it? And for each of these thoughts, ask yourself, is it true? So, in relation to that parking example, forgive me for choosing a trivial example, but just by way of example. So, if I'm about to park my car again today, and I start thinking about the last time I tried to do that, and let's say I had that accident, well, I can ask myself, well, is it true that I'm going to crash? Have I crashed yet? No. Am I parking? Yes. Have I hit anything yet? No. So the evidence around me tells me that automatic thought is not true. Oh, but it can be true. I might hit in the next minute. Well, I've got a brake I can use. I can go slowly. I can use my mirrors. I can use sensors. There are many tools that I have available to me. So it is not necessarily the case that just because I hit something last time, I'll hit it again. So let's check the veracity of these ants, these automatic negative thoughts. Are they true? Now, the difficult thing here is when we're looking at our automatic negative thoughts, it's very easy to become distracted. So I urge you to remain focused. And when you notice your attention going away, do not castigate yourselves. Be compassionate with yourself to gently escort your attention back to the practice. And while you are doing this, notice clues you get from your body, tension, your breathing, Maybe sometimes sleepiness. We have many ways of resisting. We may start feeling sleepy because we don't really want to think about it. We're told that a moment of reflection, or an hour of reflection, is worth 70 years of worship. Why? Because this is the hard work. That hadith from Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Man arafa nafsahu faqad arafa rabba, one who truly knows oneself, knows one's Lord, is not just rhetoric. It's because it's really hard to recognize all the demons within and then deal with them one by one. So let us begin and let's use the gift of our physicality. Our bodies are the tension, the breathing that warns us when our attention is being diverted. Notice the effect of these negative thoughts, not just on our own well being, but our relationships, on our sense of agency, on our ability to feel that we can make a change in our lives. Does it result in behavioral paralysis? Do we just freeze and can't do anything? And let's also think about, where do these automatic negative thoughts come from? What are their roots? What are the fears that they emanate from? And let's not forget, when you spell the word fear, it's false evidence that appears real. FEAR. So, what is the false evidence that is creating these waswases of today? And finally, what can we do about it? What are the next steps, having identified an automatic negative thought? What forgiveness can be implemented for ourselves, for others? What hope can we introduce that the future may be well? Maybe this time I will park safely without hitting. And what new structures can we put in place to support us, like mirrors in the car, like sensors? And we can have these in our daily lives. At this point, I'd like to pause. I'd like to give you 2 golden minutes of silence where you look into the mirror of your own soul and ask yourself, in relation to this specific problem, what specific automatic negative thoughts are arising. And when you begin these golden 2 minutes, begin with Bismillah, for this is ibadah. And when you finish, end with salawat, like you would with any other practice. So let us take our golden 2 minutes. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. What automatic negative thoughts are arising in relation to this problem? Are they true? What is your body telling you? What effect are these thoughts having on yourself, on relationships, on your well being, on your ability to do things? Where do these negative thoughts come from? What can we do about them? What forgiveness might be required? What hope can we inject into this? Can we change the memory, bringing new structures in, recognizing what abilities we also have that we may not have used in the past, but we can use in the future to deal with this problem? Always maintaining hope, both in our own ability and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's grace and His rahmah to empower us to do so, to enable us with this particular problem. Is the automatic negative thought true? If the answer is yes, you can ask, what aspects of it are true? But are there other aspects that are not true? Does it have to be that the past will necessarily manifest again? Or do I have the ability to change that, to learn from what happened in the past? What new hope can I implement for the future? And go through this for every automatic thought, negative thought that arises. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil farajahum. So I appreciate that this exercise would normally require a lot more time, and I would encourage you to do so. But ask yourself, what was the experience of looking within? Did you find it easy? Did you find it hard? Did you suddenly find that you couldn't think of anything at all? These are all different forms of resistance, different forms of waswasa in a way, because they keep us blocked from reading the letters of the manifest book within us that Imam Ali alayhi salam talks about. The next technique that I want to share is when we've identified the automatic negative thoughts in relation to the particular problem we're trying to solve, the next step is reframing. And reframing is really about zooming out, placing the problem in a wider context, recognizing what other opportunities might be there, what other support structures might be there, and drawing upon our iman. So, whereas we started the exercise with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, in the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate, reminding us to be compassionate to ourselves as we engage with this problem and the others who are associated with it. If we're thinking about a challenging relationship, which inshallah we'll look at in a moment, Rahmah becomes so important in that. But then, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Surah Al-Fatiha helps us because when we think about Hamd and Alameen, that there is praise across the entirety of creation, resetting in the widest possible sense can be incredibly powerful. And this is why in this famous Dua Kumail, we see at the beginning Imam Ali Islam teaching, Allahumma inni as'aluka bi rahmatika allati wasi'at kulla shay, that I beseech you by your mercy which encompasses all things, so that our particular problem can be placed within the broadest context of rahmah, but also strength. وَبِقُوَّتِكَ الَّتِي قَهَرْتَ بِهَا كُلَّ شَيْءٍ, and by your strength through which all things are dominated, so that we may feel weak, we may feel dejected, we may feel forlorn when it comes to this particular problem. We may be utterly disempowered, but we can become re-empowered by channeling our faith that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there to help us. So when we do the second step, the reframing step, it allows us to ask what else is going on, what else is true. Look for positive things. And when we're doing that, notice the experience on our body. Does our breathing change? Does the tension in our chest, in our limbs change as we put things into a broader perspective? Can we identify the effects of this reframing practice? For example, agency. Do we feel more empowered? Do we feel enabled that we can deal with this problem? So in the car parking analogy, I can look around me and say, actually, well, there are other people around me I can ask. Am I about to touch that car next to me? Are there other things I can do? Can I stop and open the door of the car and check? I don't have to remain stuck in the car. I have put a limitation upon myself that I can't open the window and put my head out to check, but I can. So what limitations have I placed upon myself wrongly? Are there other things I can do to look around and get other sources of information and support in managing this particular problem? And what spiritual tools do I have? Now, spiritual tools also work in the present through relieving us of anxieties that cause paralysis, because often problems are exacerbated because we don't use the tools that we have available because we just freeze in the moment. So, in the car parking analogy, if I just am gripping my steering wheel with both my hands, white knuckles, then I'm going to be less likely to be sensitive and respond to gently pressing the brake, gently moving forward. And we do that in our lives. If we have a problem with a loved one and we've got a lot of tension in that relationship, often the communication is not smooth, but rather juddering and sometimes quite harsh. So it's like driving with the handbrake up. The car doesn't move smoothly, jerks from step to step. And then we wonder, why didn't that person talk to me nicely? I went to speak to him, but he wasn't nice to me. Well, was I really manifesting my akhlaq in the way I communicate? Or did I frighten him? Did I make him stressed in the way I started communicating? So, what else is true? Let us reframe this particular problem. And ordinarily, I would like to give you more time to be able to think about this for yourself in quiet, but I'm conscious of the time. So, I'll move on to the third technique, which is then using the wider perspective of what you saw through your uh, through the zooming out process, and then rewriting the story, changing the memories that you will re-encode with more accurate thoughts, maths. So you replace the ants, the automatic negative thoughts, with maths, with more accurate thoughts that you identified through the process of reframing. So what are the more accurate thoughts? Well, in this particular example of parking the car, the more accurate thought is that I have not crashed the car yet. And by the way, since the last accident I had, I've parked the car 3 times without having an accident. So even though I've come to park again and all the automatic negative thoughts have come back from that time when I did crash, it is also true that there have been times in the past when I have parked my car without crashing. And it's also true that I have mirrors that I can use. It is also true that I may have radar sensors that'll beep, that I can turn on and hear them. It is also true that I may have passengers who can warn me if I'm about to touch something. And it's also true that I can learn, and I'm a better driver now. It may be that the problem is a relationship problem with our spouse. And when we look at young married couples, newly married couples, often there are problems because they're both inexperienced. They're like new drivers dealing with a new relationship in a really complex environment. But they learn, they become experienced. And then 50 years later, they sit with their grandchildren and reminisce about what it was like in the early days of marriage. We have the ability to learn. And so, in our more accurate thoughts, we can replace each automatic negative thought with this more accurate thought that yes, the fires are burning around us. We do not pretend that reality is not as it is. Yes, if the fire is burning, it's burning. We need to get a fire extinguisher. But it's true that we have a fire extinguisher. We do not have to sit in the room and burn. It is true that there is a door that we can open. All too often, we fail to see that there is a door we can open. Or even if we see the door, we do not have the ability to stand up and walk through it. That empowerment is what this exercise can provide, allowing us a moment looking away from the fire and looking for the safety door out of the room. This is what we need to give ourselves. And the more accurate thoughts allow us to do that. Yes, it may be true there's a fire burning in my house, but it is also true that my house has a door and I can walk out of it. So, whilst the automatic negative thought might be that I'm going to burn to death in my house, a more accurate thought would be that I'm going to burn to death in my house if I don't take the action of standing up and walking out. But that is easier said than done. And this is why we draw upon the strength of the Islamic teachings to empower us to be able to stand up and walk out. And the most difficult area to apply this 3-step process of identifying automatic negative thoughts, reframing, and replacing that negativity with more accurate thoughts that empower us and enable us to move forward is the area of relationships. And so, one of the things that we need to identify in the more accurate thoughts is, what am I grateful for in this relationship? Am I grateful for having somebody who loves me, with whom I can have a relationship? Yes, I have a problem right now with them. Of course, I'm not denying that. But at least I can be grateful that this person is in my life, that I have someone in my life to fight with. I'm not alone. Or that if it's a problem at work, I can be at least grateful for having a job or being able to have got the job in the first place, even if I'm worried about losing it now. Whatever it might be, let's identify something that we can be grateful for. Now, there are important points here that with relationships, one of the things we may see in the wider context is abuse, that we are being abused. And in Islam, we're told to have patience, to practice sabr. But sabr is about resilience, patience in the form of resilience. It's not patience in the form of being a doormat. Islam does not ask us to let others walk all over us and treat us unjustly. In fact, Dua Kumal, the same dua, warns us about zalamtu nafsi, that I've been a tyrant upon myself. One of the ways we do that is not sticking up for ourselves, not recognizing that we have rights as human beings. As Imam Ali alayhi salam points out in this famous teaching that our organizers are reminding us of, that we have value. And when we stop others perpetrating abuse against us, that is not a breach of sabr. That is respecting who we are, who Allah has made us. And it is not qat ar-raham. It is not severing family ties. Yes, we work for silatul raham, for having kindness and compassion for our close relatives. But if abuse comes from close relatives, then we need to stand up and speak the truth about what is going on and to seek to renew that relationship. So, just to summarize, when we have a problem, let's identify the automatic negative thoughts in the form of rumination on negative past events that are triggered when this new or similar event is happening. We should reframe that problem by zooming out and putting it into a wider context and replace it with more accurate thoughts that enable us to reflect on positive things or support structures that are also present as well as the problem. So the fire may be there, but the water to extinguish the fire is also there. And the teachings of sabr, of resilience, are not about abuse, are about the strength to go through that and renew relationships. That can be facilitated by gratitude, by shukr, so that the new relationships can be deeper and more authentic. I'd like to end with a dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through his love of Bibi Fatima alayhi salam, in whose days we meet in the Ayam Fatimiyya, during the times of remembering Bibi Fatima alayhi salam, who so beautifully embodied these teachings and taught them to us in the most powerful ways, even when she was bereaved. We pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through his love for her, enable us to work through the particular problems we've been thinking about today, and enable each of us to be more compassionate with ourselves and with those around us, and ultimately to prepare ourselves for service to the Imam of our time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you so much, Sheikh. That was
Beautiful.
very
Absolutely
beautiful,
beautiful.
and a lot of important points that have been touched upon. Very important and very crucial to know as well. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, Sheikh, it's always great to hear from you, and the information and the knowledge that we get is basically better than gems. Subhanallah. Thank you for all of that. We'll just keep you on hold for 5 minutes. We'll get back to the Q&A whilst we just quickly finish the Kahoot, and then we continue with the Q&A. Sheikh. Thank you. So let's go into the Kahoot. Before we get into the Kahoot, let's look at the leaderboard for today.
We have the leaderboard for today on. In first place, we have Sister Zara Juma with 86,961 points. In second place, we have Sister Rosemin Wazir with 85,828 points. And in third place, we have Sister Zara Devjani with 84,916 points. So
So
quite
just
close
got
to one
basically
another
tonight and tomorrow.
tonight and tomorrow.
Yeah, because the last day will be announcing
The
overall
winners.
winners. Yeah.
Yes. So good
Okay.
luck to everyone. Do well and fastest fingers first as always. Today's game pin is 4930039 and we have the QR code as well to scan. We'll give it a few seconds for you to sign in.
You know the thing I love the most about these cahoots, although it's stressful because you're trying to get the answer right as quick as possible, but there's so much that you can take away from it. Yeah, it's like bringing the whole session together, reminding ourselves about the session, revising.
Yeah, definitely. I always say this, it's something that always has stayed with me. That's how I remember a lot of the topics of last year as well. I think it sticks with you. It's very important as well.
I mean, how great were the steps that Shaykh Gulamabbas has talked about today.
Yeah,
You know, the different thoughts that we go through, and how to just change that small thought for better.
yeah. Because those are not real thoughts. Those are just something that you think about and you tend to bring yourself down a lot. And so it's just in our thoughts that we have to change that. It starts with us.
Beautiful. I think we give it just 10 more seconds before we begin. Few people still pending from the regulars. Quickly get on. Game pin again is 4930039. There's also a QR code. You can scan that. Okay, I think we can begin.
I think just give it 3 more seconds.
3 more
Usually we
seconds.
have a few more. It might be our regulars as well.
Mr. Shazi wants to give you guys more time.
I know what it's like to be on the other side.
Okay, the last one's in.
Okay, I think we can begin. Okay, Wellbeing Challenge Season 2, Day 19. Kahoot question number 1. What are automatic negative thoughts? Is it rumination or negative past events triggered when similar event appears? Is it arise due to some negative news? Is it triggered thoughts when I provoke an event as negative? Or is it none of the above? Yes, the answer is A. It's a rumination on negative past events triggered when similar events appears.
Well done. Question number 2. What is reframing? Is it to rephrase a sentence said to someone, to rethink a situation or scenario, zooming out and putting problems or negative thoughts in a wider context? Or is it reflecting on my day's events? Well done. It is most definitely the third option, zooming out, yeah, and putting my problems in context.
Question number 3. How do more accurate thoughts, maths, work? They are given to us by a teacher, or B, they are replacing negative with positive thoughts, reflecting supportive things. C, thoughts which have a lot of brainstorming behind them, or D, replacing positive with negative thoughts. And yes, the answer is B, replacing negative thoughts with positive thoughts. Well done.
Okay, question number 4. Practicing sabr means allowing someone to abuse you. Is that true or is that false? Practicing sabr means allowing someone to abuse you. 3 seconds to go. Correct. False is the correct answer.
Question number 5. What is the role of shukr, gratitude, in building relationships? Is it A, deepening and making more authentic? Is it B, an added bonus? Is it C, a must do to keep the other person happy? Or is it D, not really necessary? And yes, absolutely, the answer is A, deepening and making more authentic relationship.
Okay, and question number 6, which is based on the activity. What color is the day 19 box? Is it black, pink, turquoise, or blue? A, B, C, or D? 5 seconds to go. Certainly is pink for today.
And we have on the podium, in third place, we have Sister Atiqa. In second place, we have Sister Rosemin Wazir. And in first place, we have Sister Sayeda. Very well done to everyone, as well as the runner-ups. Good job. And we'll have tomorrow's last Kahoot, so good luck for that as well. We can go on to the Q&A for a short while. And if you have any questions, please do put them in the comments section, and we will do our best to answer them.
Shaykh, thank you so much once again for that beautiful talk and for the beautiful questions that you've put as well in the Kahoot. And it's always a pleasure having you with us.
MashaAllah to all the amazing competitors and participants. Thank you very much for everyone's effort and engagement. Jazakumullah khairan. I just wanted to offer my commiserations to some people who got some of the questions wrong. Some of the alternative answers that I saw on the screen were pretty close, actually,
Pretty close.
and were debatable. So I'd like to really thank everyone for engaging with the exercises, and I pray
just making sure that people were listening very intently to get the exact words.
Yes. Oh my God. Note taking is on another level when it comes to that. So thank you so much for that.
Sheikh, let me start us off with a quick question. You shared some amazing points over there, and many times when most of us ordinary people are going through so much in life, we've got a major challenge, as you told us to think about. And when we listen in the majlis, and we listen from our scholars about our imams and our aimmas and the prophets and how they were steadfast and still were able to go through that massive challenge, it is not easy. It's difficult. Yeah. And as you said, to change those thoughts, it is easier said than done. Yeah. What else can we do to help us? What processes or steps can we take to help us change those thoughts? Is it going to a different place, changing a scenario or a setting, or what else can we do?
I think we underestimate the power of practicing sabr, of patience, but I think we misunderstand it. Often we think about sabr as being something that we need to do vis-a-vis other people. So, if somebody has done something bad to me, I need to be patient and sort of let it go, is the sort of traditional translation of it. But I think it's much deeper than that. It's got ramifications for perseverance, your staying power. Somebody who is struggling with a particular subject in school, their sabr would be to continue studying step by step. But one of the most important in regard to your question is having patience with ourselves, because often we get very irritated with ourselves. and we say things to ourselves that we would never dream of saying to other people. Um, and I think having that little bit of self patience, of having a little less irritation with ourselves in relation to the particular difficulties we are facing can go a long way, because we end up wasting a huge amount of energy on that. And if we just stopped self sabotaging, I think we would make a huge amount of progress. But self sabotage is so ingrained in us culturally, because we start scolding ourselves from a very young age. But we don't understand that when our parents were scolding us, they were doing it from a position of love. When we scold ourselves, there's no rahmah in that. And so having a little patience with ourselves can go a long way and can create that space for us to recognize that actually there is a fire exit in this room and I can go through it. But that takes a little patience. That's hard when you're in the middle of a burning room and you think you are responsible for the fire.
Definitely, I think very well put. I think one of my questions was that what are the major differences between Islamic psychology and Western psychology?
Um, well, firstly, I don't think there is a particular category of Islamic psychology, because in my studies, I found that psychology permeates all aspects of Islam. It is not by coincidence that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam made very clear, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. The primary purpose for which I've been sent is the perfection of akhlaq. Now, what is akhlaq? Often we mistranslate that as being, manners and etiquette. That's adab. That's not akhlaq. Akhlaq, to my mind, is this practical spiritual psychology. And it goes through everything that we do. So, whereas in the Western academy, psychology is one category. Yes, it's got roots in philosophy, but it's a distinct subject. In Islam, it's not. There is a psychology of salah. There is a psychology of Surah Al-Fatiha. There is a psychology of how we are with ourselves and how we are with others. And so I think it's integral to what akhlaq is, and akhlaq is integral to everything that we do. And so I think this is the key distinction. In Islam, psychology is not a particular category or subject. It's who we are and what we do. But the how of it is what's different. The Islamic approach to psychology is a mindfulness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's presence. And that is the catalyst of the reframing that we do. And I think we are only at the early stages of exploring that. Because for the last 200 years, at least, Islamic scholarship has been governed by fiqh and the jurists. And Islamic law is very important. But we often forget that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did not say that the primary purpose for which he was sent was the law, was the Sharia. It was not. It was this spiritual psychology that enables us to be human beings, how we are with ourselves, with others, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is the renaissance that we're going through now, this reawakening of the Ummah.
Absolutely.
Definitely agree with that. I think psychology is a big part that we need to bring about even in the different communities. And I think that's changing as well with what a lot of people across the globe are doing in our communities as well. So, yes.
Alhamdulillah, Shaykh.
This is why I really applaud the work you do, mashallah. Because this kind of work that you're doing, and now for multiple years, mashallah, this is important. This is facilitating the renaissance, this reawakening, this re-examining our teachings through this practical psychological lens. The work you're doing is so important. And this is why I wanted to begin with a dua for the success of the work that you're doing, because I think it's integral to how we are Muslims today. It's that important.
It's only possible with guidance and help from you, our speakers, Sheikh. You're paramount and instrumental for us. in making this event reach out to as many as possible. And with that, Sheikh, we had a question that came in uh, somewhere during the starting few days of the event. I was trying to see where exactly to put this question in, and I think it fits very well with your session today. So again, it's about someone who's struggling with a major issue, but this is different because it was a child who went through a very tough phase in life. This child at a very young age had cancer. Yeah. And then after some time, the cancer went away. Alhamdulillah got better, but it came back. And that really hurt him a lot and took him through a long process. He's a bit older now, but it's still, Alhamdulillah, it's clear, but it's not they're not completely out of the woods. But it has reached the stage where this child now feels that he's questioning whether Almighty Allah, does He really love me? And he's questioning why all this is happening to him. No matter how the surrounding around him is strong and staunch and full of dhikr and full of our teachings, but it's that cocoon that he has sort of brought himself into. How can he practically know and understand that He is watching over him and He does love him?
Well, firstly, I'd like to offer my heartfelt best wishes to this person, and let us all pray for his shafa, inshallah. We learn through the Quran and through Islamic history that many eminent prophets whose faith and piety is beyond question have experienced profound difficulties, physical related difficulties, sickness, other problems that are not a manifestation either of Allah's love for them or their love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but rather it is a manifestation of the dunya, that we are in a natural system, and as part of a natural system, bad things happen to good people. In a tsunami, good people drown. In an earthquake, good people get buried under the rubble of their own houses. We are in a natural system. And so our faith is not necessarily about never having any bad things happening to us, because then that would be Jannah, not Dunya. But rather, our faith is about helping us to cope with the difficulties. And in this, I'm reminded by Surah Al-Maryam, by the story of Prophet Zakaria alayhi salam, where, through the physical reality of he and his wife was that they were not able to conceive. That was the physical difficulty they had. They were not able to have a child. And what is it that Zakaria alayhi salam says in regard to this? He says, "Walam akun bidu'aika rabbi shaqiyya," that never has my prayer to you, O my Lord, ever been unheeded. Shaqiyya has many connotations, but it's really about being not listened to. So I would say to this brother that, when you may have been praying for the cancer never to return, and now that it has returned, it doesn't mean that all your previous prayers, and indeed your prayers now, are unheeded. What Zakaria alayhi salam teaches us is that he went through a long period of time where he did not get what he wanted. In fact, what he did not want happened. But despite that, throughout all that time, his connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not change. And so he continued to benefit from Allah's grace. And that's the key point. We must not allow any illness, excuse me, any difficulties to come between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We cannot allow the cancer to become a spiritual shaitan, because the reality is we are in dunya, and dunya has these natural effects of sickness that could be environmental. It could be because of the world around us that is not his fault, but equally is a wider consequence of the way humanity may have chosen to live our lives and put all the pollutants out there. We don't know why the cancer has come back. But what we do know is that all of his du'as and all the du'as of all his loved ones, both previously for it not to come back and now to help him that it now that it has come back, are not forlorn. Zakaria alayhi salam's teaching guides us in the Quran. وَلَمْ أَكُنْ بِدُعَائِكَ رَبِّ شَقِيًّا. So let him pray, not just for the cancer to go, but for the ability to manage it with the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that he can manifest a new grace for himself and be a teaching both for his family and the wider community in how to cope with relapse.
SubhanAllah, SubhanAllah, and it's beautiful even how you said about Surah Nas, the waswasa that we get inside or that's put inside our heads. But alhamdulillah, thank you.
Yeah, I think I had one final question, Sheikh. I wanted to ask you about how can censoring the youth affect them psychologically? And when I mean censoring, I don't mean political censoring. I mean censoring the ideas, censoring what they want to say, censoring different aspects of it, of what their perceptiveness is, right?
Perspective, yeah.
Perspectives, their different perspectives, their ideas, their ability to want to change certain things in communities, in society, in school, in universities. I think it's very important because when they speak, they really do mean well. But we do tend to, and culturally also, we do tend to censor the youth quite a lot. So how does this affect them psychologically, and how is it detrimental to our own society?
Well, firstly, I would challenge that the word detrimental because I don't think this is one dimensional. I think this is multidimensional. There are aspects of censorship that are detrimental, but there are also aspects of censorship that are protective. And then there's a whole third category that is neither here nor there. There's this cultural noise. And so the bits that are cultural noise, I'd say, let it go. Let them, do what they want to in their generation. If it's not haram, let them have freedom. Let's trust them. But with regard to censorship about that which is bad, would you allow your child to consume poison, even though they wanted to? If there was, a food substance that was going to be harmful to them, would you not tell them not to consume that? Of course you would, as a parent. And it's no different for their mind, particularly their subconscious. I have teenage children. And I worry a lot about the censorship boards. I'm often told, "Oh, but this is a 15, and I'm at least 15. This is a 12, and I'm older than 12, so I should be able to watch it." I'm like, no, because the criteria by which the censorship boards arrived at that certification are not my criteria, because they don't take into account the impact on your subconscious. And it's my job as a parent to have a concern about that. So there's an aspect of censorship that is protecting, but we need to make sure that they have the space to breathe and to apply their own reasoning, because if we over censor, then they will not be able to navigate the world of free ideas when they leave the home. So it's about balance, because when they encounter strange ideas that are anathema to our values, that's good, because it tests where their values are. And it allows us to guide them how to manifest and fight for their values in a world that doesn't respect their values. So we need to expose them to ideas that are contrary to what we believe in. But we need to do it at the right time in the right way, so that we expose them to those ideas when we are confident that they are mature enough to be able to deal with them. Just like you would not give a piece of hard meat to a tiny infant that is only drinking milk. It won't be able to handle it. But you could give that to a grown teenage boy who is 17 years old. Of course, he would love it. But it's not about that hard piece of meat. It's about the child and the readiness. You wouldn't give it to a 1-year-old, but you would give it to a 17-year-old. So it's not about the meat, it's about the child. And that's where the parent comes in to recognize where the child is in their psychological maturity and development.
Absolutely.
Alhamdulillah, Sheikh. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today. But it's always an absolute pleasure having you, Sheikh. And we could go on and talk for hours. But one of these days, I'm going to block your time and get you for a proper 3-hour session with us, Sheikh.
Inshallah, for sure.
If I can listen to 2.5 hours of that and listen to what you have learned from all these amazing people you've had, mashallah. But thank you, barakallah feekum. May Allah reward you in wonderful ways. And jazakumullah khair. I really appreciate the opportunity to participate today and for all the amazing work that you have done. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. And with that, we come to the last bit of today's talk, where we come to the book of the day.
Yes, today's book is called It's Not Supposed to Be This Way. It's a book about finding unexpected strength when disappointments leave you shattered. It's a book by Lisa Turkhurst. The excerpt is, "These seasons of suffering are not for nothing. They will grow you, they will shape you, they will soften you, they will allow you to experience God's comfort and compassion. But you will find life-giving purpose and meaning when you allow God to take your painful experiences and comfort others. You will be able to share a unique hope because you know exactly what it feels like to be them."
Beautifully put. And in fact, it goes so well with what we wrote in the group today about change and about seasons. So, alhamdulillah, that ends day 19 of the 20 by 20 Wellbeing Challenge. We'll see you back tomorrow for another great speaker. I think everyone's been waiting for as well.
I think everybody has been waiting for, and so have we.
Yeah, so I think we'll put up the picture tonight itself.
Yeah.
But until tomorrow, same time, same place. Good night, God bless, and goodbye.
Thank you.